There is nothing in a narcissist's life that is as dangerous as a super empath. So the super empath, those are the guys who are very much self-aware of who they are. They have finally discovered who they are. So they have moved from being an ordinary empath to a super empath. So at some point, they have awakened and they have gone supernova. So the moment an empath goes supernova, that is the moment when they take all of their power back. And as they do that, life gets real for a narcissist. Because at that moment, they have shut the gates, they have closed the doors, and it's game over for the narcissist. And now, those empaths are turning into warriors, and they're fighting back. And believe me, guys, the narcissist will never see this coming. But when it happens, it becomes a real situation. And most of you may be wondering out there, what exactly is going on in the narcissist mind, and what are they doing with their own life? Because eventually, they have realized that they have lost the real one. And in this video, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to let you guys know what exactly the narcissist does the moment they figure out that they've lost the real one. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzomus, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-growth. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, the narcissist's life is pretty much predictable for an awakened empath. We already know what happens at the beginning, what happens at the end. We already know the cycle, so it's very obvious. The love bomb, of course, they meet the victim, the love bomb, the trauma bond, the devaluation, and the discard, and eventually the hover. Now, that is a cycle that can go on for ages. That cycle can go on for as long as the narcissist lives. That cycle will never stop. The only thing that is going to make that cycle stop is for a super empath to go supernova and awaken. That is when they are going to now put an end to this cycle and call it quits. And for a narcissist, as much as they want you to believe that their life had usually just started with a new supply, most of the times they are now facing the reality of their own actions and the reality of their own destruction. Most of the times when empaths are enduring this kind of abuse, the narcissists, they're enjoying the torture, they're enjoying the fuel, they're enjoying the supply, they're doing it, so they're enjoying the game. So for them, it is just a mere game. It is something they've always done, it is something they like, it is something they enjoy because they get a lot of fuel from it. So what kind of fuel are we talking about? We're talking about your response, your reactions, your validations, and all these little things that you do to make them feel better or to make them feel some kind of a way. But you see, the problem is, as the narcissist goes on with that kind of cycle of abuse, of course they will eventually discard you as a victim. They will meet the so-called new supply. They'll start the cycle all over again, and they are going to pretend that everything is peaches and cream, so that they can now inflict a maximum amount of pain to the victims that they've left behind. I'm talking about the empath that they've left behind. So they will do whatever they can in their power to make sure that they do it in a way that it is actually going to get to you. They will show you that they're happy. They will want to make you believe that they're happy. They found somebody new. They found somebody better than you. And now at that moment, you're worthless. So they want to justify the fact that they have discarded you because you're worthless and you're not good for them. And now they have made somebody who is better than you. So most of the times, that's the picture that you get when you live in these narcissists. You know what I mean? But you see, in my own experience, so when I left the narcissist, little did they know that I'd awakened. So they didn't know actually that I'd figured them out. Little did they know that I'd figured them out. So I just left that vicinity very quietly. Like you guys already know, when you live in the narcissist, you always live quietly. I left the vicinity quietly. I went on out there and I started to put all these mechanisms in place that was going to defend myself, number one, from the narcissist, and also that was going to put all these boundaries around me to make sure that those individuals never ever again in their entire life appear in my life. So in my journey, I've experienced a narcissist facing the real circumstances and facing the reality of losing an empath. Because at the end of the day, I can guarantee you guys, the narcissist, number one, you better believe it or not, the narcissist will never forget about you. You having been with the narcissist for a very long period of time is also an indication that you are the best supply they've ever had. So by them abandoning you or discarding you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have all of a sudden forgotten about you because now they are happy, they found somebody who is better than them or who is better than you and the things like that. So you better believe the narcissist is missing you on a very subconscious level, and they do not usually want you to know that. That is because at that moment they're with somebody new. So it is just like a temporary, it's like a taking a leave. So the narcissist discards you because it's like they're temporarily taking a leave. Because they know at some point, you being the better supply they've ever had, they are always going to come back at some point and drag you in back into that relationship in something that they always call the hoover. But when the empath awakens, what happens is that the empaths, they go supernova. So most of the times they start to explode. The empath will explode. Now, again, let's not forget that those guys, they're the last people to speak. They are very patient with themselves. They're the last people to speak. So they will usually take their time in these kind of relationships and entanglements. But when the empath goes supernova, that is exactly when it's game over, because those empaths, they're going to explode. And most of the times, they're going to start hitting back at the narcissist. Because finally, they now know their game. They have awakened to this abuse. And they have now found out that they have always been taken for a ride for as long as they've been involved with those individuals. Now you see what happens is that behind the scenes, that is when you're going to see the narcissist now starting to give you a very, very big space. Most of the times, if they have been usually blowing up your phone all the time, sending you all these kind of text messages and things like that, they are now going to go quiet and very, very silent, and they are going to become extremely intimidated by you. Why? Because now, finally, you have figured out their game and you know what they're all about. The narcissist is going to put on a show for as long as you have not shown them that you are awake. They will continue putting on their show, like the same thing they did in my situation. They will continue putting on their show. They will post all those social media page pictures and the things like that. They will buy new cars. They will buy new homes. They will do whatever it is. They will go on trips. But when the narcissist figures out that you have awakened, guys, let me tell you something. Those individuals, they are going to go very, very quiet, and they are going to go very far away from you, because an empath who has awakened, the super empath, is very, very dangerous and very destructive when it comes to those kind of individuals. They will destroy those guys and they will put them face flat on the ground. So, literally speaking, the super empath is a narcissist's worst nightmare. Now, when the empath figures that you have awakened, they know that's game over. They know that they can never get you back. It does not matter what they do. It does not matter what kind of magic they have in their heads, what kind of magic they will do. It does not matter what kind of voodoo they are going to do. They know that they will never get you back at some degree, and you're gone forever. That is it. So what is going to happen now? Because remember that you've been with these guys for a very long period of time. There's so many things you've done together. They like your fuel, number one. So there is so many things you guys have done together. It could be things you've done sexually. It could be things that you've engaged in daily activities, the things that you cook, the way that you guys dressed, and all these little things that you guys did, as long as you were involved with them. So most of the times what they will do now, they're going to turn around, and now they're going to start pressuring. They're going to put a lot of pressure on the new supply. Now that is when you're going to see the narcissists all of a sudden, they're going to change. And they're going to change their attitude towards the new supply. That is exactly when the new supply is going to understand exactly what they're dealing with and what kind of mess they have gotten themselves involved. They will make them do double. They'll put them under a lot of pressure to make them even do double than they did when they were with you. So most of the times you guys might have been driving a specific type of a car. They are going to make them buy a car which is 2 or 3 times better than that one. If you guys were living in a certain home, they are going to make that home look much better than it used to look when you guys were together. So most of the times you're going to see the new supply, they are going to sweat in that entanglement, because at that moment they are going to notice the narcissist is on. Because remember that narcissist is angry. The narcissist is extremely angry because, number one, you have awakened. That is the first thing. And number two, you figure them out, and then now they know that they have lost you forever. You are never going to come back. It doesn't matter what it takes. So the new supply will go under a lot of pressure, intensive pressure. They are going to be forced by the narcissist to do a lot of things, to do double, to do triple, and to do things which are much more than the things you guys used to do together when you were with the narcissist. Because remember that the narcissist now is trying to recreate the new supply to look like you. Because remember, they miss each and every single detail about you. So that's when you're going to see the new supply. Most of the times, you'll find them sometime in the city, they're dressing like you. You know, most of the clothes you guys used to wear, maybe sometime you have got your favorite shoes, your favorite jeans, your favorite garments, or the dresses and things like that. That's when you're going to start seeing the new supply. They are going to start completely doing the things that you did. That is because now the narcissist is putting them on pressure. They want them to look like you so that now they can have that image of you with the new supply. So they want to make sure that the new supply, at some point, they look like you. You will see them dressing the way you guys used to dress. Sometimes if you have got contact with the narcissist, that's when you will see them. Sometimes they are going to call you, and then they will ask you about a favorite meal. Maybe there's a meal you guys used to cook, and now they are missing that fuel. Now they are going to call you, and they're going to ask you, oh, you remember there was a meal you cooked. You usually cooked on Sundays. Can you give me the recipe? At that home, now they're going to start to eat exactly. Now, guys, this is one of the most disturbing things you'll ever see in those individuals. Those individuals, they are completely emotionally bankrupt. You're going to see them in the new house with the new supply. They're eating the same food you guys used to eat. Most likely, they're forcing the new supply to do the same sexual actions you guys used to share together with the narcissist in the bed. Most of the time, you'll see them, they're visiting those same places that you guys used to go for as long as you are with them. So you are with them. So you are going to now see the narcissist completely recreating the new supply to look like you. And if they do that, now they are going to even sometimes push them to do even better than that. So that's why you're going to see the new supply is going to start sweating out in that entanglement. They're going to start sweating out because they don't yet know what they're dealing with. But now they're going to start sweating out because they are going to be pushed to the limit to do things like you, to talk like you, to dress like you. Most of the times you're going to see them, they're eating the same food you guys used to eat. You might even sometimes walk around in town. You will meet them in the same cafe you guys used to sit. If you guys have a favorite cafe you guys used to sit for a coffee, or sometimes for a restaurant, for a dinner, or things like that, the gym, they are going to do everything in their power to make sure that they recreate that new supply to look like you. That's why you're going to see a lot of mirroring happen with the new supply. But little does the new supply know what is going on behind the scenes. They don't know that the narcissist is actually recreating them to look like you. Most of the time, they will feel it. Because remember that the narcissist remembers each and every single detail about you. So most of the times what they are doing now, they're blowing up your name in front of the new supply. Oh, you know, so-and-so used to do like this. You can't even do that. You know, when I was the so-and-so, life was better. When I was this and this, life was better. Now you can't even do this. You can't even do that. You can't even do this. You can't even do that. Now the new supply is going to start feeling some kind of way because they're going to start pushing them. The narcissist will push them to do all those little things that you used to do, to behave like you, to talk like you, to behave, because the narcissist wants. The only reason, guys, I want you to listen to this. The only reason you guys stayed a very long, significant amount of time with the narcissist, that is because they were enjoying the supply he was giving to them. But now that the supply is gone, the boundaries have been put to place, the gates have been closed, they know they can never get you back whatsoever. They are going to do everything in their power to recreate you using the new supply, so that they can at least even sometime have that memory that you're still around. Even if sometimes is a different person in front of them, they want to have that illusion that you're still around in the house. So they want to have that same food you guys used to eat. Even sometimes sexually, you're going to see them in the bed. They are going to try to make the new supply do those same things that you used to do with them when you were making love together. So that's when you're going to see a complete mirroring. You're going to see somebody else with a narcissist doing things like you, and doing every little thing that they're doing with the narcissist is going to look exactly the way it seemed when you're with them. And the whole reason behind this is because those individuals, they are completely missing you. The narcissist will miss you. Guys, let me tell you something. Let nobody ever fool you that the narcissist has discarded you and they have let you go and they are not even thinking about you. Those individuals, they can never forget about you. Those guys, actually, they are going to miss you for the rest of their lives. Until their last day, they are going to miss you forever. But the fact that they cannot have you back, they want to see you in somebody else. But we already know, guys, that one is very obvious that they can never get you in anybody else because you are unique in your own way. The new suppliers got their own style. They've got their own way of doing things. But now, they're starting to do things and to behave like you. So you better believe it that the narcissist is missing you. You know what I mean? And you should not be worried, guys. I've always told you in my videos, guys, you should not be worried. The very moment you have left a narcissist, your only emphasis is going to be healing. You're going to heal because remember that you're now entering. You're awakened. You're going supernova. You're becoming a super empath. You're becoming extremely enlightened. And now you're moving towards becoming the best version of yourself. So you should never be worried about what those guys are doing. Just better believe whatever is going on in the house. So for the most of you guys who have read those individuals, and you're wondering what is going on in the house, what are they doing, how are they I can better tell you what is happening. For the most of you guys who don't know that, I can better tell you that a lot is happening in that house, and you don't want to be a part of that. You continue moving. You release those individuals. You let them go, and eventually, guys, you'll move towards becoming the best version of yourself. So let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below, guys. Until then, you can always book a session. You can always donate and support to this channel. Leave us a comment, share the video with friends, and let us know what you think. I'll get back to you in my next one. Until then, much love and blessings. Nazamo signing out. Peace.